Listen, this is the season you become a hockey fan, and this is the series that's teaching you all of the basics. The NHL season just started, and last episode we covered the very basics you needed to know to watch a game. But yesterday's matchup between the LA Kings and the Las Vegas Golden Knights actually went all the way to a shootout, so it's a perfect time to talk about how overtime works. So let's talk about the regular season first. Hockey is played in 3 20-minute periods. But what happens if that 60 minutes of playtime goes by, we get to the end of the third period, and we are at a tie game? Well, that's what happened last night with the Kings and the Golden Knights. At the end of regulation, we were at a tie game of 5-5. And what happens next during the regular season is we go to a 5-minute sudden death overtime period. Instead of a full 20 minutes, only 5 minutes are put on the clock, but we don't necessarily play the entirety of that 5-minute period. Whichever team scores first automatically ends that clock and wins the game. However, the players on the ice look a little bit different than they do during the regulation time. During regulation, a normal hockey setup looks like 6 players on each side of the ice. 1 goalie, 2 defensemen, and 3 offensive players. We look at that as 5-on-5 play because there are 5 skaters on the ice on each side. However, during overtime, we drop down to 3-on-3 play, which means that each team is only allowed to have 3 skaters on the ice plus their goalie at a time. However, everything else is still pretty much the same. Players are still only staying on the ice for their shift. We still don't stop gameplay for line changes. Penalties can still be earned, and all of the normal rules of hockey apply except for the amount of time on the clock, the number of skaters on the ice, and the fact that the first person to score wins the game. But what happens if, like last night, we get to the end of that 5-minute period and neither team has scored? We don't put any more time on the clock. Instead, we go to a best-of-3 shootout. It's 1 goalie versus 1 skater. Each team selects 3 players that will take their shot on goal, and we alternate going back and forth. By the end of those 3 shots, whichever team has gotten the best of 3 wins the game, and regardless of how many of those 3 goals were scored, the final score only reflects a single additional goal. Last night, the Kings won during this phase of overtime, so even though they scored 2 out of 3 goals, the final score only reflected 1 additional goal, making the final score 6-5 in favor of the Kings. But there is one more phase of overtime. If we end the best of 3 in an additional tie, we go to a sudden death shootout. Each round of this shootout starts the same way, 1 skater on the ice and going back and forth, but if one team scores and the other team does not score during that round, the game is officially over and that team wins. Overtime during the regular season is always very exciting because each of the 3 phases of overtime tries to make the game more exciting. Now during the playoffs, things are totally different. Overtime at that point is still sudden death, but the timing is actually 20-minute periods, and we keep all 5 skaters on the ice. And we don't go to a shootout. We actually just continue playing with 15-minute intermissions until someone scores. If you're just getting into the NHL or you have questions in general, be sure to drop them in the comments down below and I will include them in the series. Next episode, we'll be going through the lines on the ice, what the different zones mean, and 2 very popular requests, icing and offsides. So whether you're a new fan or an old fan of the NHL, follow along for the Basics series, all of the highs and lows of the NHL season, and of course my take on big news updates as they come.